I just didn't understand why you was crying. You won the Oscar and the fight. What the you got the crap?
Know one thing. Why? Why so far? You guys went so far. I lost so much.
D.L. Hughley, the comedian, has always been a guy of integrity. Hughley gave his thoughts on Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars for making fun of his wife, Jada Pinkett's bald head.
There has been a lot of attention given to Will's mindset that night. The night that there's a lot of attention given to what it must have driven him to this. How
Will's response to Rock's joke clearly did not make Hughley laugh. Additionally, the seasoned comic is also disclosing some unpleasant information about Will, particularly during his time as a cast member of the well-known comedy Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. There have been rumors that Will mistreated his co-stars in the past, but how is that possible? Let's investigate. NBC gambled on the up-and-coming Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Grammy-winning hip-hop musician Will Smith in 1990. The Fresh Prince cast was definitely not relaxing, despite the fact that the show's poignant storylines, catchy theme song, and Smith's unadulterated charm won over viewers. Cool, maxing, unwinding. They were occupied with feuding with other actors and scribbling little messages in a burn book a la Mean Girls. Here, Will Smith was at the front of the line. The majority of the behind-the-scenes turmoil on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air revolved around the cast's grievances against the actor who played the original Aunt Viv. Janet Hubert had a role in the most juicy details of Fresh Prince drama over the course of 3 seasons, but she was never able to get along with the show's top performers. The majority of the most significant secrets of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air have already been revealed, a full 22 years later. These gloomy Fresh Prince tales, however, also depict a rap artist who battled his newly discovered TV fame while embroiled in legal disputes with his fictional family, record company, and even the U.S. government. First of all, it was made public that Will owe the IRS $2.8 million, which is why he was made to appear in the sitcom. Had the actor never experienced significant financial difficulties, we might not have the beloved and highly regarded film star version of Will Smith that we know today, the one who brought us such beloved blockbusters as Men in Black and Independence Day. As a member of the hip-hop combo DJ Jazzy Jeff and Amp the Fresh Prince will gain notoriety. For their single Summertime and Parents Just Don't Understand, the pair won Grammy Awards. Smith mismanaged the vast sums of money that accompany his enormous reputation. The young rapper found himself owing the IRS $2.8 million after failing to pay enough income taxes. As one might anticipate, the IRS took his money and possessions. Producer Quincy Jones cast Smith in the lead part of Benny Medina's semi-autobiographical film, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, because Smith was facing bankruptcy and had no other option. He gave the IRS 70% of his Fresh Prince pay for the first 3 years. That's not it, though. D.L. Hughley seems to be referring to the supposed rivalry between Will Smith and his co-star, Janet Hubert, who played Aunt Vivian in the first season of NBC's The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It seems that Hubert wasn't too fond of her on-screen nephew, Will Smith. She left in 1993. Partly due to a significant quarrel between the two, and Daphne Reid took her place. Hubert most scathingly criticized the A-lister for not assisting his fellow cast members in their compensation negotiations. He was inexperienced and young, and I believe he just needed to prevail. In a 2016 internet video, Hubert made fun of Smith. I seem to recall approaching you during option time and suggesting that perhaps we might work together to obtain a little raise. We believed that, as with our friends, your influence would be very beneficial to us. In a radio appearance, Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, who knew her co-star would harass him in the press, stood up for her husband and attacked him, stating, "I can say straight up that Janet Hubert, she essentially went from earning $250,000 annually to having no income. She's been angry all along, even though she's mad now." Once, after 10 years in the industry, she stated, "This snotty-nosed punk comes along and gets a show." Although there were undoubtedly significant issues between Aunt Vivian and Smith, some people don't think that's why she was fired from the show in 1993. Some claim that Hubert's role was taken away from her due to pregnancy. The outspoken actor's pregnancy was said to have violated a contract provision. But did Smith choose to treat the others in this manner because he thought of himself as a celebrity, refused to pay the IRS? I mean, I wasn't attempting to avoid paying taxes in my thoughts. I thought to myself, oh my God, they need their money. The Oscar winner disclosed in a previous interview that she and Jazzy Jeff had released a hit song. The album went triple platinum. We got a Grammy, and we made a ton of money. I own automobiles and motorcycles. When I called the Atlanta Gucci store, I asked, hey, will you guys close it down if I bring my friends? I'm grinning, but that's not very smart. Our following record was a complete failure when it was released. It was a tragedy, Smith continued. Like double plastic, it gone. I didn't forget that I had spent all of my money, but I didn't pay the IRS. I had no intention of avoiding paying taxes. I thought, oh no, they really do need their money. All that stuff was taken by the IRS. I was therefore completely broke. Being broke and famous is a S combo because, even though you are broke, people still know who you are and will still recognize you if you are riding the bus with them. His ex-girlfriend advised Smith, who was in problems and without hope, to simply stay about Paramount, close to the Arsenio Hall show studio, in the hopes of running into someone powerful. He went to Quincy Jones' house after listening to his girlfriend, who invited him to an immediate audition. About the spontaneous audition, Will remarked, I was like, F it then. When I reached the finish line and heard everyone clapping, I said yes and let it go. The two-time Academy Award nominee said that people should always say yes when the opportunity arises and that they should listen to their girlfriends after his performance so impressed the audience that Jones called for his lawyers to draft a contract for Smith to play the lead in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But despite his achievements, accolades, wealth, and success, some, like Hughley, maintain that Will has personal issues that the public should be aware of, particularly in light of his treatment of Janet Hubert from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I can say straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the show to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show because I know she's going to dog me in the press, Smith said in a 1993 interview with an Atlanta radio station. His wife Jada would quote him on this statement years later. However, as their public spat developed, Janet attacked the program and made clear in interviews how much she detested Will Smith. There will never be a reunion because I will never do anything with a hole like Will Smith, she even vowed, according to TMZ, adding she would never appear in a reunion episode. He hasn't matured and is still an egomaniac, she went on. He doesn't know the word for an apology, but this constant reunion thing will never ever happen in my life. People have long assumed that Janet had been fired from the show in 1993, but she clarified on the reunion event that this was untrue. She made the decision to leave the show because she was pregnant, having issues at home, and getting along poorly with Will Smith on set. She added that she was forced to quit because her pay was also reduced. She stated, there was some friction between Will and I because I was pregnant. During the reunion event, home life was not good at all. I was no longer laughing, smiling, joking because there were things going on that nobody knew about. Always been able to recognize chemistry. Will and Alfonso from the very beginning were just playmates. The HBO Max Fresh Prince reunion show aired on November 18, 2020. In an exchange, Janet told Smith, I hated what you did. I just hated what you did. You took my career away of 30-something years. She said, struggling not to cry. You just went too far when you were younger, and I know you always had to win, she said, referring to the way her professionalism was smeared during the feud. Will responded, I could not do a 30-year celebration of this show and not celebrate you. Celebrate your contribution and celebrate your contribution to my life. He continued saying, the person I want to be is someone who protects you, not someone who unleashes dark on you. As well as the reunion show, The pair continued to work things out and ended their long feud 2 days later on Will's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk, which aired on November 20th, 2020. And as it turns out, Janet is not the only celebrity who claims to have been bullied by Will Smith. Paul Rodriguez, who worked with Smith on the set of the 2001 biopic Ali, revealed the once beloved star bullied and humiliated him on a daily basis, making his life a living hell. Rodriguez told the U.S. Sun in an interview last year how he believes Smith's cruel treatment towards him led to him being maligned by much of the cast and crew and almost cut out of the movie entirely, derailing his then burgeoning career in Hollywood. But Smith's own legacy in Tinseltown would erupt in flames more than 2 decades later when he marched on stage at the Oscars in 2022 and slapped comedian Chris Rock across the face for making a joke about his wife Jada. And now the tides have changed. Dubbed the slap heard around the world, with the swinging of an open palm, Smith was swatted from the upper echelons of Hollywood royalty and hung out to dry in the court of public opinion. Almost overnight, various projects the Fresh Prince was working on were either axed, shelved, or indefinitely suspended. He was also later banned from attending the Academy Awards for the next decade. Rodriguez, meanwhile, said while he feels a great deal of empathy for the situation Smith finds himself in, he hopes he now understands how he made him feel on the set of Ali. Look, I get no joy out of him going through this, but maybe he'll have a lot of compassion for what he put me through, because it's a horrible thing to be the butt of the joke, said Rodriguez. Others stopped wanting to get out with me when he made me the target of all of his jokes and derogatory comments about Ali. I felt sorry for Will Smith despite everything he put me through, because it seemed like the word got out and I suddenly had leprosy. Rodriguez continued, "That movie was supposed to be one of the biggest and most wonderful breaks in my career, but he made it a nightmare, and it all went downhill from there. I was dropped by my management company and couldn't get an agent worth a damn. The cost he will have to bear is nearly greater than the offense. For a brief period of foolishness, the love and admiration that people once showed for one of the biggest stars in the world has now transformed into indifference. I can relate to what he's going through, so it's difficult for me to feel any resentment towards him. You and I both have compassion for someone who is destined for this kind of rejection." Rodriguez was chosen to play Dr. Ferdy Pacheco, the great boxer Muhammad Ali's personal physician and devoted cornerman in the highly anticipated film Ali. In a previous year's interview, he disclosed that the day he received the part was one of his most memorable experiences. Additionally, expressing excitement about the possibility of collaborating with Smith once more, he had previously acted with him in the 1993 romantic comedy Made in America. He wasn't the famous person he is today back then. Rodriguez added, "We used to hang out a lot and things were always really friendly between us. Occasionally, I would run into him at the studio while we were working on various projects, and everything would be great. So, the 5th or 6th time I read for the director Michael Mann, I ran into him again when I went to audition for Ali. I asked him to put in a good word for me after we paused and spoke for a short period. I believe he likes you," he said to me. "I believe you already own the portion." Still in awe of the A-list celebrities he was working with, Rodriguez described the great, friendly vibe on set as filming in Chicago and Miami began. His amicable connection with Smith abruptly changed, he believes, as if a light switch had been flipped, and as a result, he was shunned and denigrated by most of the cast and crew. Rodriguez said that he isn't sure if he personally offended Smith, but he identified a purported incident involving Smith and the actual Ferdy Pacheco as the catalyst for the conflict. Rodriguez told the U.S., "I was off that day, so I didn't see the commotion." Saul. However, the actual Ferdy Pacheco was on the set, and it looks like he was drunk when he went into Will's dressing room and started griping about how Danny Garcia ought to play his character, and I should play the smaller role. As things got worse, Pacheco reportedly started using profanity on Will. He was led off the site by police when they were summoned. "It was awful. From then on, Will never looked at me the same. unaware of the events between Smith and the real Dr. Pacheco the previous evening. Rodriguez returned to the set the day following the purported incident. He came to film a sequence with Smith in which he had to put on his gloves. He asked everyone, even Smith, who he says disregarded him outright, how they were doing, as far as he can recall. Abruptly, the celebrity is said to have turned to face him, yanked back his arms, and growled at him. "You are completely ignorant of the situation." I say to Will, "Will, I'm just putting on my gloves. The camera's not even on me yet." My lines were probably along the lines of stick and move, camp. "You don't know what you're doing," he added, glancing at me once more. And that was when things really started to go south. Rodriguez says that over the days and weeks that followed, Smith regularly made fun of and harassed him. According to reports, Smith would exhibit such derogatory conduct by disregarding his queries and greetings, threatening him, and turning the other cast members and crew members against him. So, it appears that Janet is telling the truth. Yes, Will Smith is a bully in the summertime. Some internet users expressed their dissatisfaction with how things transpired on Twitter after learning about his treatment of Janet. Someone posted, "Janet Hubert should have returned to work sooner rather than later. For that, Will Smith will always be on my blacklist, and his apology to her was a clumsy one. I'm not bothered." Another response said, "Will Smith still ain't as years had passed since Janet Hubert's career was put on hold, and his apology serves solely to further his own interests because he and his
For
staff
starters,
were
it was
well
revealed
aware
that Will
a
was forced to
reunion
star
of
in the
Fresh Prince
sitcom
of
because he
Bel-Air
owed the
would not be
IRS
possible without
$2.8
her.
million.
And that's it, my friend. Do you too think that Will Smith has mistreated his co-stars throughout the years? Tell us in the comments whether Smith has ever been a lousy co-star to his coworkers. Tell us in the space provided for comments below. And we're done for today. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.